Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin Monthly. As you can probably hear, I am a bit sick again. This is mainly down to Antimus, his shitty mic, and me having to edit him for the last 48 hours. What a shit bloke. If you follow him on Twitter or any other social media, make sure to give him some abuse. And if you like the show, if you enjoy it, if you get value from it, please do me a favour, send it to friends and family. You probably noticed the price of Bitcoin has started to rip. You're going to have friends and family reach out to you soon asking you, oh, is it a good time to buy Bitcoin? And you need to tell them, listen you fuck, go and listen to Ungovernable Misfits, listen to Bit by Bit, listen to this episode, understand what Bitcoin's really about, where to get it, how to make sure you stay private, and how to not get fucked by governments, because this is what this is really about. Share the link and help us grow the show. Before we start, I want to say a thank you to my show sponsors. We'll start with Foundation, as we did some shilling in this episode. If you haven't already started using a Foundation device's passport, I can highly recommend, especially with their new release on Envoy. It's so slick to set this up. You can run all of this over Tor, you can link to your own node, it has coin control, you have PSBTs with QR scanning, and it is just so fucking slick. It really is nice, and the thing is beautifully designed. Not only that, but it is fully open source and has an incredible team. If you have any questions about this hardware, you can reach out to me and I will answer any questions. If you want to get 3 months of VPN free with iVPN, you can use the code UNGOVERNABLE when you order. I'd also like to thank SX6.store. SX6.store make steel backup plates. They make them at incredible value from £16.99. They are made from marine grade steel that will survive fires and floods, and this is the best way to stamp your seeds or passphrases into steel. Again, you can use the code UNGOVERNABLE for a discount and to let them know that I've sent you there. Finally, if you're listening to this and you aren't already running a node, or you're running a node on a shitty Raspberry Pi or using a closed source option, you really should consider something better. To me, the absolute best in the game is Ronin Dojo. Ronin Dojo are kindly supporting this show by giving me a small amount of sats back, and also you a discount if you buy a Tanto. The Tanto is fucking amazing, it's what I run, I really can't recommend it highly enough. If you have any questions you can reach out to me. I'll be having Zelko back on the show next month to talk through some of the features, and if you use the code UNGOVERNABLE you will get a discount. Finally, if you haven't already checked out ungovernablemisfits.com, you can see our clothing, our articles, artwork, whiskey and much more. Check us out at ungovernablemisfits.com. Thanks for listening. I know, we're recording.
Alive for an evening rip, no coffee in sight.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I apologise in advance for how shit I'm going to be. I'm not great in evenings. The coffee has long since worn off.
I'm on the whiskey now.
Oof, could be a spicy one. I have just had a beer actually, if we're all being honest.
What about you, Antimus? What you on? Ah, it's just we hear nothing from him. We hear nothing from this guy.
I guess this is my opportunity to get my own back after the whole NFT debacle while in my absence last month, eh?
Yeah, what was going on there, mate?
Yeah, just you tell yourself that you're going to stay true to your morals, and then the next minute you find yourself investing in monkey JPEGs.
Well, I hope you made loads of money.
I am absolutely minted.
Fucking rolling in it.
I was debating telling you, Pet, to fuck off, to be honest. I don't need this anymore.
If you actually went off and you fucking bought some monkey JPEG and you're like, look, mate, I bought this monkey and now I'm retiring, I would not be concerned. I'd be very happy for you.
Well, should that day ever come, I promise I will be open and honest with you and share some of my proceeds.
We're getting a message now from Antimus. I can't hear you. We can't hear him. Shall I just close this out and send another link?
I think we might have to, yeah.
Okay, right. I'll speak to you in a minute, mate.
All right.
Fuck's sake. Okay.
Take two.
We're back after half an hour of waiting for Antimus. Tried one mic, it was shit. Tried another one, it was even worse. Tried another one, it was even worse. Tried a different operating system. Can't believe it, but even worse. And now he's just gone off comms. So
the takeaway is don't use Windows, kids.
Don't record with Antimus. That's the big takeaway. That
is a very valid point. Just something popped into my head around. Obviously, I was moaning about I'm shit in the evenings and how I'm crap and when I'm tired and stuff. And I've got a little story, just a very short story to tell you that'll probably make you giggle. Just before we sat down to start recording the first time, I was looking for my headphones for about 30 seconds before realizing they were on my head.
Amazing.
And then, obviously, you use a specific recording service that only works on Chrome-based browsers.
Yeah.
I normally use Firefox, so my default is to go to Firefox. But my Chrome browser that I use when I record with you is Brave. So what I did to open Brave is instead of opening Brave, I opened Firefox and then search for Brave in the search box.
In the search box?
In the search box. And then it came up with, like, obviously the Brave website. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Amazing.
Oh,
wow.
We have somebody in the green room. Here he is, right on time.
He's going to fuck this all up now as well. We just waited for 20 minutes and I finally said, no, I can't wait any longer for this guy. And now he's lurking in the green room, about to mess up the whole recording.
Brace yourselves, people. I think we leave this audio in, even if it is terrible, so people can see how bad it is.
Yeah.
Hi, Antimus.
Antimus.
Silence.
Nothing. Nothing.
You could argue that's better than it was before. Oh.
I heard something. It sounded like he's like burping.
It sounded like you're having a stroke or something.
Fuck me. Antimus, if you can hear us, we love you, but this is not good enough.
Yeah, back in a minute, guys. I'm just going to gouge my own eyes out.
I expect more from the Germans. Their engineering prowess.
Known for being efficient, aren't they?
Yeah.
Now he's trying to beatbox into the mic.
No. We'll carry on. We'll see if we might hear him, but at the moment, Antimus, just know that we can't.
Oh, God.
So it's normally a morning coffee rip. Today it is it's nearly fucking 9 o'clock at night. Q&A and me have been up since the crack of dawn, slaving away. Q&A to make the Bitcoin space better, me moving around heavy steel, and yeah, it's just not what we need.
And then Antimus pops in and he's like, yeah, I'm going to ruin their evening.
He's been at the fucking spa all day. There we are. I heard that.
We can hear you beatboxing.
Why only beatboxing, though? Why no usual high quality content and insight? Nothing. That's all we get. All right. Let's open up the list.
Okay, so I'll step into Antimus's shoes for a little bit in the hope that maybe in a couple of hours he fixes his mic. Anyway, On with the list. This is in no particular order, but let's kick off with some lesser happy news, so we say. A customer data list has been leaked via the Blockstream web store. Yes, not good. So there has been an email sent to everybody essentially that has bought anything from the Blockstream store to basically try to get people to install a mandatory firmware update for their Jade hardware wallet. To anybody who has kind of, I guess, been in the space for a couple of years would probably raise a red flag immediately when they see an email like this, because number one, hardware wallets almost never issue emails to say you need to do a mandatory firmware update, and they certainly wouldn't send an email link containing that firmware out either. So, it was fairly easy to spot, and I think the scammers that were doing this did so from an email address that was not even remotely anything like Blockstream.
Dave's Plumbing Merchant at hotmail.com.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't exactly a sophisticated attack, but I guess the take home here is that anytime that you share your personal information with a Bitcoin company, be that a hardware wallet company or an exchange or anything like that, you are putting a certain level of trust within that company.
Mm-hmm.
I think some information has come to light that this wasn't specifically the Blockstream store, and there's indications that it could be like an email marketing firm that they kind of partner with to help them do their sort of email campaigns and whatnot. So it may not be that it's Blockstream themselves that have leaked it. They are responsible for this data, and obviously this should fall on them. So yeah, not great, but I put this one in a list to act as a reminder. Basically, just say, look, if you ever get an email from your hardware wallet company saying that you need to immediately update your firmware, it's almost certainly going to be a scam.
Yeah.
If you're in doubt, contact the genuine support for your chosen manufacturer and just validate the email has come from them if you're unsure. There is almost never a time where you need to rush out and update the firmware for your hardware wallet. And there certainly is never a time where you should be entering the seed words of your hardware wallet into a link that's provided into an email, because again, that is almost certainly always going to be a complete scam. Be aware, be vigilant, and keep your wits about you, because if there's one thing that's always going to be true about the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space, is that it's going to attract scammers that try to steal your sats. So take care.
Amen.
Yep. Oh, wow.
Oh,
okay. Here he is.
Go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
And what's the quality like?
Poor.
Average.
All right.
Extremely poor.
Okay.
It's really nice to hear your voice, even if it is distorted, too loud, and a little bit gruff.
I've turned up the gain full on here.
Try turning it slightly down.
Yeah, okay, this is probably like 75.
That'll do. I'll do something in the post edit. But here you are. Why don't you put down on your Christmas list a new mic and say, look, Father Christmas, I've been a really good boy. I think I deserve to sound as good as I look and feel.
You should see me. I will. And it will be this evening I'll do that. Fucking hell. This is... You should send me some recommendations, because this is pissing me off.
Me and Q&A, neither of us are sponsored by this company, but Yeti is what we use. I think I've got the Yeti Pro because I'm just upper class and all that. So I paid like 240 quid for it. And then obviously Q&A is Northern and all that. So you got the cheaper one. I think his is like, 150 quid or something like that.
Yeah, slightly less when I bought it, I think. It's about 120 quid, yeah.
Yeah. And listen how crystal clear he is.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Doesn't sound like my microphone is at the bottom of a bin. Nice to hear your voice, though, at last, an hour later.
Exactly. Fucking hell. Yeti. Are this from Logitech, right?
Not sure.
Or is the company called Yeti?
The company's called Yeti.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, I'll get it done.
Get one of those.
Okay.
Did you hear us talking about Blockstream data leak?
I got the end of it. Yeah. I think we touched on that last time, didn't we?
I think we might have.
That was just on the day that it came out, but there was no additional information.
Yeah.
That this shipping company or something was responsible, which is pretty shit, because that means they didn't just get the email addresses, they actually got the addresses as well.
Yeah, not good.
Potentially, yeah. I think while we're on this subject, I'm just going to bump something further up the list that's in the same vein. There's been a fake Ledger Live application on the official Microsoft App Store.
Brilliant.
Allegedly stolen 16.8 Bitcoin from users.
Ooh,
Fuck.
So once again, they all follow the same sort of trajectory where they get themselves into a store or they release this app. They have a somewhat official looking website or storefront. How this got into the Microsoft Store, I will never know. It looks and feels like the normal Ledger Live application, but 9 times out of 10, they'll ask you to enter your seed words in there to probably quote unquote verify something. Yep. And obviously, as soon as you do that, bye-bye Bitcoin and bye-bye whatever shitcoins you've got on your ledger as well.
Oof.
So I believe this has been taken down now at the time of recording, but it was removed on the same day. But that just goes to show how quickly you can say bye-bye to 17 Bitcoin. It was only up for one day.
Fucking hell.
And it's called Ledger Live Web3 from official dev. I mean, there's quite a few red flags right there.
Web3.
All the buzzwords. So yeah, guys, I like a broken record, but if in doubt, make sure you're downloading your shit direct from the manufacturer wherever it's possible. If you're not sure, ask the manufacturer and just send them an email. It won't cost you anything other than 5 minutes of your time. Say, look, I'm about to click download on this link from this store. Is it you? It might be the difference between you and your sats.
And don't ever put your seed words in ever when someone asks you.
Yes.
There's never a time ever where you should do that, is there? It's not like, oh, you should probably not. It's like, no, you never do it.
Agreed. And this is where I get so annoyed with the certain models of Trezor where you have to type your passphrase into your computer to interact with it.
It's retarded.
Yeah, it's retarded shit like that kind of muddies the water so that when customers do get served, these phishing apps, they think, well, all right, I'll put my passphrase in, then it's probably not out of the realms of possibility that they would ask me to enter my seed words for some legitimate reason. So, yeah, again, just be careful which hardware you use and be very careful what you do with your seed words.
Yeah. I'll probably get shouted at here and I'm probably out of my depth a little bit, but I would say to anyone, don't ever fucking use Trezor. The times when I have interacted with it in the past, I was opening it up in a browser and, like you say, typing things into a computer and plugging it into my computer, which all of those things seem wrong to me. On top of that, they're interacting with Wasabi, and I just feel like for those reasons, I would rather just have any phone with any fucking mobile wallet on it. I would feel safer with that than using a Trezor, although they did look quite nice at the Bitcoin Amsterdam thing. They looked aesthetically quite pleasing, but everything else about them I thought was shit.
Yeah, so that was the new model with the first ever one they've released with a secure element. So in my eyes, the first actual hardware wallet that they've produced that has any level of, physical protection with for your seed. So if you are hell-bent on buying a Trezor, make sure it's that one. But yeah, I pretty much echo your thoughts, Max, to be honest.
Yeah. Cunty.
Yeah, and Bitbox had a similar situation, right? So I think this was on the 15th of November, so about 2 weeks ago, that they had a user who had some kind of malware on their computer that faked the Bitbox app. So it's a bit of a similar model with the Trezor and Ledger. So they've got like an app that goes along with the Bitbox, and they had malware on the computer that kind of doubled. So when you plugged in your Bitbox, it like opened up and you thought you were actually interacting with the Bitbox app, but you were actually interacting with the malware, but it looked identical, and also wanted you to enter the seed words.
Yeah, but that's the key. That's where you should know.
Exactly.
You'd plug it in and then you would go, oh, it's asking me to put my seed phrase in here. But I won't do that then because this is obviously a scam.
Yeah.
So the weird twist in that story is that according to Bitbox, they traced the source of the malicious website that was serving the dodgy version of their Bitbox app. They reckon that this user had searched for the term Wasabi wallet and ended up downloading a malicious installer, they've called it. What the link between a dodgy version of Wasabi and a dodgy version of Bitbox is, I don't know, but...
What's the legitimate one?
Well, all I was going to say is the moral of the story is don't use Wasabi. Yeah, it looks like I think the real website ends in .io, and then the scam one looks like it ends in .app. To a layman, that was an easy mistake to make, I guess. Again, no idea what the link is between why a Bitbox user was searching for Wasabi and how it managed to install the Bitbox app, but that's what they said anyway.
Yeah, and only it only pops up when searching via DuckDuckGo. So apparently, not when using Google or something. I mean, I had a look if I could find anything. None of these, or this website didn't pop up when I searched it. But yeah, apparently, as soon as you click on it, it downloads something to your machine. So be aware there. And if you're downloading any software, right, always go to GitHub. And if it's not on GitHub, you probably shouldn't be using the software in the first place.
Do you want to take over the list, Antimus, or I don't want to step on your toes?
No, all good. Wait, we took a few here. So is there anything else on a similar topic?
Yes, there is actually. I used Envoy for the first time ever. I know I should have used it ages ago because they're a sponsor and blah, 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 blah. But I hadn't used it and I was very impressed. I wasn't going to bother. I thought, no, I've got too many different things I'm interacting with. I don't want to add something else. And I think that's what held me back. But it was really, really slick. So well done.
Thank you, sir. I guess now would be a good time to do the Envoy shill that we have on the list, really.
There we go.
Yeah, it's like it was planned. So this week we released the public beta version, not the main release yet, so you won't find it in your normal app stores, of Envoy version 1.4. The main headlines here, we got a couple of new screens. We got the Activity Center, which gives you a summary of your transactions, notify you of firmware updates if you're a Passport user. And we've also got a new privacy screen where you can toggle off Tor, you can connect to your own node, and you can add an application lock. So these are all features that we had, but they were kind of buried away in the settings. So we've made them a little bit more organized and a bit more forefront. Outside of that, the main addition here is full coin control. So with Envoy, with your mobile wallet or with your Passport accounts, you can now do full coin control when doing any spend. So you can go in, you can give your transactions notes. And we've also added a really cool feature that I'm very, very pleased with in terms of coin organization or categorization, should I say, called tags. So what you can go and do is look at all of your UTXOs and then you can put them into different categories, or tags is what we call them. So you could have tags for your KYC, your no KYC, tags for your wages, tags for your donations, keep them all separate but within an individual account. From there, obviously, with all the usual coin control stuff, you can lock or unlock these coins to prevent them from being spent. And with us architecting it in this way, we've actually got 3 different ways that you can kind of spend from Envoy now. And this is my terminology here. We haven't kind of come up with some official terminology here, but you've got the first one, you've got a naive spend, where you literally just go into the app, open your account or your hot wallet and go, right, Max's address, paste, send him 25,000 sats, go. Here's my fee, go. That's the naive, the simple spend, like the easiest way to use Bitcoin. You've always been able to do that and you always will be. The second tier or second sort of level of detail you can get into when spending is that you can spend from a tag. So what you can do now is once you've given your coins some tags, you can pop into what we call your tag view. You can just turn on one of them, let's say my donations tag. And I can say, right, with that tag, construct a spend to Max's address, take 50,000 sats out of it. I don't care which coins you use, as long as you only choose them from my donations tag. I don't want you to look at any of the other coins, just pick from one of or many of those, depending on obviously the makeup of the wallet, and then hit go. And then the third way you can do it, obviously, is what we would all consider as full coin control, where you would go to your UTXO list and you pick the individual coin or multiple coins that you want to be included into a transaction so that nothing else is looked at all. Populate the address, give it the amount, and then press send. So we've got basically everybody covered. If you're not bothered about coin control, you can just continue to use the app as you have done before. And if you are a super nerd like the 3 of us on this call and you like to give all of your UTXOs pet names and spend them one by one because it's super private, then you can do that as well. But we've got a happy medium in there where we've got the tags and you can just be like, yep, pay Antimus from my no KYC stash. So that is in active beta at the moment. Very, very close to release. We're aiming for release next week. We're recording on the 30th of November, although thanks to Antimus, it's nearly the 1st of December.
Nice.
So yeah, very early December, this will be out and you'll be able to get your hands on it. I personally am very, very proud of this. This has been our longest Envoy release ever. The whole team's put a load of work into this. And I'm going to go out on a limb and put my neck on the line here and say that this is the best coin control experience in a mobile app, bar none.
Oh, okay. Is this what I'm using at the moment, I presume?
If you've downloaded from the Play Store or the App Store, then no, it won't be. It's only available right now from GitHub as an APK download, or if you're on the test flight.
No,
so
I
maybe
went
it is.
APK.
Then it might
How
be.
can I find out? Because all the things that you've said, I've got.
If you see the words privacy at the bottom in the tray, then you've got 1.4 because that wasn't there before.
Yes,
there you go.
That's what I have. So I can say, so that's Q&A reading off a load of stuff in his usual way. But like for the retards out there, honestly, I've been using this for maybe a week now. And genuinely, it's really fucking easy. Like really, really slick. And when you're talking about this tag thing, sometimes when you go off on one, it's kind of like it's lots of words and it's a little bit technical. So I'm going to bring this down for the specials. This tag thing, if you put in like, I don't know, like you're saying KYC or whatever, or non-KYC, it will clump them all together. So you'll have from the largest UTXOs all the way down to the smallest, and it will clump them all. You have like a nice little slider thing, which you can just slide across of what you will or won't use. And then it just has sections, which just makes it really fucking simple. And then you can have, you might have your normal account, and then you might have another account that's got a passphrase on it and another one that has another one, and you can track as many as you want. I linked it to my Ronin Dojo Tanto in 30 seconds, just scanning a QR code. And what I was using before with Foundation, with my passport, I was using it on my laptop using Sparrow. And I love Craig Raw, like he's a fucking legend and what he's built is amazing. But my laptop is shit and the camera is shit. So when I was scanning the QR codes back and forward, it was taking, and I'm not exaggerating, like 15 minutes to send a fucking transaction. It was ridiculous. So I was like, I can't be dealing with this. So I then downloaded this, and now it is a second, 2 seconds. I'm doing it from my passport onto my phone and back, and it's done, and it's really, really slick. So if anyone listened to Q&A's waffle and thought, I don't know about that, trust me, go and use this. It's really good.
Appreciate the shill. I've already had a few people that are on the beta program that are helping us with testing and getting paid for it, I might add. If you want to get involved with that, feel free. It's open to anybody. And I've already had a few of those people be like in my DM saying, yep, bye Blue Wallet. This was the tipping point. Once we've got coin control, we're almost at feature parity in terms of what most people want. So,
well, I take that all back now. I didn't get paid for my feedback.
You should have headed into the beta testers group. There are some caveats. You have to be competent with GitHub to make an issue and tell us what's wrong so we can fix it.
Okay. Well, I can tell you one thing that I didn't appreciate, if that helps you at all.
Go for it.
The one thing that I would like to see, and it's minor, but I would like to see, is when I see a sent transaction, I click onto it and I can see status and it will just say confirmed. I know it's minor and it doesn't really matter, but I actually like to see how many confirmations. It's just like a weird little thing. I really would love to see it. And if it wasn't a massive issue to put that in there, I'd love for that to be added.
Okay. We, being open and honest, have no immediate plans for that. We haven't even talked about it. The one thing that would potentially achieve that we do have planned is, you see the transaction ID?
Yeah, you can click on that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't do anything at the moment. It just opens it out so you can copy it. But in the future, we're going to allow you to click on that and either open it in a default Explorer if you don't run your own node, or you can open it on the Explorer on your Ronin Dojo or something like that, so you can see all the details there.
I never like clicking on those because I'm like, oh, hold on. Is this actually going to go over Tor, or is this going to now be linked to my IP? And I always like shit myself about it because I remember that's what happened on Samurai. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I don't want to be doing that anymore. So it's minor, but I just like to see, has this had one confirmation, 6, 300? And it's just like a nerdy little thing that I like to look at. I know it doesn't really probably matter that much, but...
No, it's fair. All feedback is welcome.
Everything else, though, very nice.
Does it show the first few transactions, or does it just say confirmed as from the first?
Confirmed
from the first one. We give a date and a time as well, so
Okay.
you'll know when it was confirmed.
Mhm.
Obviously, that doesn't tell you whether it's 2 or 6, but obviously, as it's more than
gives
a
you a
day,
rough.
you know that. There's going to be like at least 144 blocks gone.
Yeah. Okay, because I was quite. I mean, I haven't used this beta yet, but I was quite like seeing the first few, so that I know, okay, it's past 4 confirmations or whatever. Obviously, once it's like 158, if it's 158 or 250, it doesn't really matter anymore. But if it just jumps over to confirmed as from like the 4th or 6th or whatever. Yeah, but the tag thing, or the whole concept with the tags for coin control is wonderful. BTC Pay server has this like tag system as well, but it's not actually integrated with the coin control, which is a shame. But having that, being able to create these buckets from which to spend, just saves so much time. Even though you could do it manually, obviously, if you do all your notes properly.
Yeah, internally we've been calling it lazy coin control, which I kind of like, because it is quite descriptive, but obviously it's not great marketing speak.
Lazy.
On that note, other updates. We've got Zeus beta. I don't know if the full release has come out this week, but it hasn't, has it? I don't know. I didn't double
I've
check
not
that.
used it, if I'm
But
honest.
they've been on the third beta, I think. This is V0.8.0. We touched on this one in the last as well. I think that was the beta 2. The whole new rebranding, new languages, and also the embedded node, LND node on your phone, as well as Olympus. So you're like a zero conf channel service. So this is like their liquidity service to the users. I've only half kind of followed this, but there's been quite a lot of banter with Mutiny Wallet, and this, I think, ties into their Zeus Pay. Is that correct?
I can give some background, yeah. So before we get into the beef and the context, the new branding, guys, what do you think?
I thought it was really slick.
Antimus?
Yeah.
I'm glad we share the same thought. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's my eyes. I can't read the word Zeus in that logo.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously I know that it's Zeus, so that I can see how they kind of came up with the idea. But if I see this logo for the first time, there's no way I'm reading Zeus.
Yeah.
I just saw a yellow picture of Zeus. That's all I saw.
Yeah, it's got like some weird, like hieroglyphic type writing over the top of it that, like, say, if you knew it was Zeus, you'd knew. Like, you can see the Z and the S. And
no, that's not what I saw, though. I saw it was a picture. It was just, yeah, here we are. If you click on the top left of the website, and there's just like a picture of Zeus. He looks like he's jacked. He like goes to the gym. He's got like a really nice beard. He uses all the products you should ever use to have like that luscious beard and hair. You see the one I mean? Like orange and yellow.
On Zeus, what's the website?
ZeusLN.com.
LN.com.
And then you'll see what you're talking about, which is terrible.
yeah.
That is not good. But if you click on it,
Oh, yeah.
in the top left, and then you'll see there's like the orange and yellow image.
Yeah.
That's what I saw, and I was like, that's fucking cool. I like that. It's a nice bit of art.
So now we've talked about the really important stuff, like the logo. So a little bit of context. So yeah, with version 0.8 of Zeus, they have entered the LSP, the Lightning Service Provider realm, I guess, where you don't actually need your own node to use Zeus now. You can operate it in a very similar way as you can with Breeze or with Phoenix, where there is a lightweight node running on your phone that connects only to the LSP, presumably run by Zeus, which is what they've called Olympus. So they will do all of your channel routing and stuff like that for you, but done in such a way that they can't steal your funds. The worst they can do is kind of deny your payments to go through, essentially. But the crucial bit is it is technically non-custodial. As well as that, as part of V0.8, they've released what they're calling Zeus Pay, which is a self-custodial Lightning address which uses a service called ZapLocker, or a protocol called ZapLocker, which we have talked about ages ago. And basically the way it works is, as we've talked about before, with Lightning address, you need a web server and you need an always-on computer that is able to listen out for payments that go and then redirect them to your node, basically, to request invoices and stuff. So what most people do is go, fuck that, I'm not running a web server because I don't know how. I'm just going to use Wallet of Satoshi, which is obviously fully custodial, and more on that later. Zeus has come up with or integrated a unique approach where they run the web server for you, and give you max@zeuspay.com. So you have the easy, and all the fun bits of Lightning address without the overhead of running the web server itself. But because they've used this as app locker service, under the hood that uses something called HODL invoices, where basically they'll hold the payment in transit for you whilst you're not online. And then they either, I'm not sure on the specifics of this part, they'll either just hold it until you come back online, or they will somehow send a notification to you to say, hey, there's something waiting for you here. Do you want to come back online so that you can complete the payment? Once again, the crucial bit here is that they are literally just holding the payment. The way it's structured with Lightning is that they can't kind of steal that. They are just an intermediary. And once again, all they can do is stop it from going through. They can't steal the funds. So it is an improvement for those that don't want to run a web server but still want to use the Lightning address and once again, have some principles and don't want to use Wallet of Satoshi. But this has caused some difficulties in the Lightning Network because naturally a lot of people have gravitated towards this and started to use this Zeus Pay service. And that has resulted in a lot of Lightning payments being kind of paused in transit and locking up a lot of liquidity and basically causing a lot of havoc with any other node that has connections with the Zeus LSP. One of those companies is the guys from Mutiny, who also operate their own PWA Lightning application. And basically the guys at Mutiny have essentially just disabled sending these types of payments to any Zeus wallet user because it's causing havoc with their nodes, and their customers have been getting forced channel closures, which in the current fee rate or recent fee rate spikes where we've been up to like 300-400 sat per byte just to get into the next block. If you get force closed in a fee rate like that, that could wipe out the entire balance of your channel if it's a small channel. So I see where the Mutiny guys are coming from and why they're doing that to kind of protect their users. So yeah, it's at the time of writing, I don't think there's been any resolution to it. Zeus seems to be sticking to their guns and say, we have come up with a solution. Yes, it might not be perfect, but this is distinctly better than, let's say, somebody just giving all their sats to Wallet of Satoshi. I would tend to agree, but I don't have a Lightning routing node pointed at Zeus that is having any issues with this, and I'm sure the guys from Mutiny will have a much harsher take on this. So hopefully that was a good summary of it. Anyway, this like I say, no resolution yet, and it's going to be interesting to see how this one unfolds.
So I don't quite understand how it actually gets to the forced close. Is it that just at some point because it's stuck in transit that the operator of that channel just says, okay, I've got to force close this so that I can kind of regain control over that liquidity? Or is there some kind of mechanism that after a certain period of time, if a transaction hasn't gone through, there's an automatic force close?
I don't think it's automatic. I think it's the fact that it's locking up a large amount of liquidity within these channels that maybe there is a force close. I'm not sure. They definitely use the term force close. So perhaps there is certain node implementations might have like a fail safe basically to think, if I'm getting attacked and I've got a lot of stuck HTLCs, which are basically these HODL invoices, then maybe they are doing it as a safety mechanism. I'm not sure.
They are using different implementations. I think Zeus is LND and
Mutiny uses LDK.
LDK, so it could be that. It's all going a bit over my head, all this, if I'm honest. The last year in Lightning world has made me sort of step back and pay less attention because I'm just like, this is all just stressful. I haven't got time for it. It's too much for me. I'm sure it's fine if you're doing this all day, every day and balancing channels and worrying about what implementation and blah, 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 blah. But as just someone who's not that technical and just wanted to make payments in a self-sovereign way, it seems to be relatively difficult. And the only thing I'm doing now on your advice is using Phoenix, and it's pretty okay, but I rarely use it. When I was away in Amsterdam, I bought a couple of duck burgers and they were delicious and it was good for that. But other than that, I don't know about you two, but I'm just a bit tired of it.
Yeah, I don't use it a lot, to be honest with you. I do use Zeus connected to an LND node. Now that I have it set up through VPNs and not using Tor, It's pretty good actually. It's very robust, and I'm even shocked running it on a Raspberry Pi. So it seems that for me personally, at least, it was Tor was most of my issues, and now that I've binned that off, it seems pretty good. But again, I'm a very, very, very light user of Lightning. It only gets any moderate usage when I go to a conference or something, which is like, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Outside of that, it just kind of sits there, and, I might get some zaps on Nostr or something. But other than that, it's pretty much just a play toy for me.
Yeah, likewise here. I mean, at least privately, with Vulkan 21, we've got the BTC Pay server with our Lightning node there, which obviously needs quite a bit of attention, rebalancing channels and stuff like that. But that's pretty straightforward, like once you've got a few channels open. But especially like playing around with all these different nodes, and then like what implementation do you want to choose? It's just not something that you can like set and forget. You have to kind of keep doing the research and like staying on the pulse of what's going on in the whole industry. And there's so much back and forth and just internal fights that it's pretty exhausting. Trying to keep up with it all. But on the other hand, there's progress being made, and I think that's also important that different ideas are kind of fought out to see like in what direction the whole ecosystem goes, and hopefully they can converge again at some point.
And there is useful stuff. Like, I'm not in the camp where I'm like, I don't want to just like completely slag off Lightning, because there is useful stuff. The podcasting 2.0, I think, has promise. It's certainly been good for my show. It has helped me a lot. So I don't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater. All I'm saying is to use it in a proper self-sovereign way seems like a fucking second job at the moment to keep on top of things. And I haven't got time for it. And so I just like using the base layer as much as I possibly can. There's never any dramas with it, and I like that.
I've got to say, it's a quite a good like pressure valve for like the fees. Seeing like the payments for the orders over the last month, I think there was one order that was paid on chain, and everything else was all the other Bitcoin payments came in via Lightning.
Really? We've seen the opposite.
Really? With the high fees?
Yeah, I think we've had one Lightning payment and everything else is on chain.
Shit. Okay.
What about you, Q&A? Can you divulge or?
Weird you should ask that. I'm literally just looking at it right now. Since April, let me work out the quick percentage. Nearly 30% of our sales are in Lightning. Of the Bitcoin sales, that is, not total sales.
Yeah,
That's just of Bitcoin we receive. I'd say about 30% of it is.
That's pretty high.
Is via Lightning. But what that doesn't tell you is 90% of that 30% could be just paying us directly from Strike and just basically essentially paying us in dollars, if that makes sense, or using their dollars.
Yeah.
So they're not technically using Lightning, but obviously we receive Lightning. So please don't read too much into that. It could be coming from anywhere.
Mm-hmm. But can you see how that's changed over the last month, like with the high fees, if that's like shifted?
I can have a quick look now if you want to fill for 30 seconds.
While he's doing that, Antimus, you're like this, just how put down and sad Q&A made me feel. I went out to go and buy a passport, and I went up to Q&A and I said, look at this, mate. I sort of see him as my mentor, you know? I went, Q&A, look at this. Do you like how I've paid you in Lightning and I've opened this Lightning channel using one single UTXO post mix that's gone through Whirlpool? Mm-hmm. How do you like that privacy? And I was thinking he'd go, oh, son, I'm so proud of you. You've really grown up to be a good and strong and principled man. Give me a hug. And instead he just went, yeah, it's all right, mate.
Fuck! Dude!
I was like, oh, mate, he's going to be so fucking proud of me. He's going to be so proud. Look at this. And then he just goes, yeah, all right.
Mate, my arse did not touch the floor in Amsterdam. I can't even remember which wallet you used. The whole thing's just a blur. Antimus, to answer your question, since the start of September, it's about 50% Lightning. So yes, it has increased.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder why it's not happening with us then.
Well, I mean, I presume it may be like the customer base. Looks
Maybe.
like to me it's more geared towards like the samurai.
I was going to say, I can't imagine there are many strike users that listen to bit by bit.
0. I would think 0.
Mm.
I mean, we have had someone pay in Lightning, but it's been almost, all of it. Yeah, all of it on chain, even with really high fees. Even when we were sat at like 300 sats per byte, it was still orders coming through.
Yeah, we'll see how this one plays out. But for further updates, we've also got, one second, I just got to navigate back to my other computer. Here we go. StartOS. This is was definitely wonderful news for those who follow along with the whole saga and discussions and fights on Twitter and various podcasts about the different licensing models and what can be designated as FOSS software or just source viewable or whatever.
Identifying as FOSS.
Exactly.
Did you see that, by the way? For context, for anybody listening, the Bitcoin Bugle, which is like a parody news source for Bitcoin news, basically dropped a story yesterday basically saying that Coldcard is now, it's not open source, but they identify as free and open source.
Wow.
And they did like this full article about it and how this is what they identify as now, which I just found very, very funny.
I see you, Bugle.
Sorry to interrupt.
We feature them every Pleb Minor Monthly. We love the Bugle.
It's brilliant. But anyway, we can't say that about Start9 now because they are truly free and open source. They've gone with the MIT license. So hats off, guys. The weird thing for me is that or at least I've not seen it. They haven't really given any. It was all very quiet. They just kind of did it, and somebody found the license change. It was like, hey, this is really good. Like, I don't see any big rationale from them or anything that's driven the decision.
They did always say they were going to do it.
Exactly.
I remember listening years ago. They said, but I listened to it years ago and I was like, yeah. It's fucking, that's talk, mate. Let's actually see you walk. And then they've done it. So congrats.
Yeah, I think at some point on Citadel Dispatch, they had like a whole Matt held like a pod with 4 or 5 different lead maintainers from the different node projects. And there they had a big discussion about the licensing models. And that was pretty close to the beginning of like
I remember that. That was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And there he said, that they ultimately want to go to an MIT license, but at the beginning he wants to protect the company. And apparently they got to that point because I didn't see a lot of pressure like over the last months that they just like folded at some point.
No.
It did kind of seem like a genuine move and something that they planned for a longer time.
Yeah. Well, however it's come about, it's good to see.
100%.
Did you see that they've started selling refurbished mini desktops now with StartOS installed?
I've not seen that.
I thought that was a bit of a weird move for a VC-backed company to start selling secondhand stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just me, especially because it massively undercuts their main flagship hardware by like 50%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking, like, are they going to scupper themselves here? But they've obviously put a lot more thought into it than I have. But yeah, they now sell like old HP laptops that have been refurbished that have got StartOS on. So it's strange.
You could see it that way, or you could see it as like, well, it might be a easier way for someone to enter and start using the software. And then if they like it, they're like, oh, hold on, they've actually sold me this hardware a bit cheaper than I would have otherwise been able to get it. It's made it really easy for me. I really like it. And now we've had a bull run or whatever's happened and life's easier and fuck it. I really appreciate what they've done. So then they'll go and spend money with them. I certainly think like that when there's companies in the Bitcoin space who I respect. And I think, yeah, I just like how you do things. I'll spend money with them.
Yeah, fair.
Next on the list, we've got Sparrow Wallet. So they've actually had 2 updates since the last pod. So this was v1.8.0 and 1.8.1.
Good to see Craig's finally pulled his finger out.
Yeah.
Lazy.
There's probably a new one since last week.
No, I did check.
Okay. Yeah, so v1.8.0, this is transaction diagram captions as well as open wallets search and more. So especially the open wallets search is great so that you can actually search through all opened wallets. If you're not quite sure exactly from which wallet you did a certain transaction, you can actually search and it will go through all the opened wallets, which is a huge time saver.
Yeah, very cool. My favorite Sparrow update from this month is from 1.8.1 though.
Go on, what's that?
So the monkey JPEG people have congested the chain that much that Craig has had to make the fee slider bigger on Sparrow.
Brilliant. They're all on Sparrow, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, because it has good coin control, and that's what you need when you're fucking about with this crap, apparently. Maybe they'll all move to Envoy, who knows?
I was going to say.
Yeah.
You better fucking hope not, because you'll get no work done.
I was going to say I need like 50 more people in the support team with me. I haven't actually checked how far the slider goes now. The header image for the release goes up to 8,000 sats per byte.
Wow.
Ouch.
It seems like they've calmed down a bit now, though.
Yes.
We're down to like 25 or something, right?
Yeah, 20. I mean, it is later in the day, I suppose. So
It's 32 at the moment.
yeah.
High priority, 32 sats per byte. When I was sat here a week ago, it was like 10 times that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still ridiculous fee rates getting into recent blocks, though.
Well, yeah, and one was especially brutal, right? This was 83 BTC transaction fee. What was that? That must have been an absolute record, right?
Wow.
New record in fiat terms, at least. So there was a larger Bitcoin fee at some point.
Yeah, but wasn't someone saying they got hacked, and then did anyone else see this? They'd set up like a Twitter profile saying like I was hacked for 80 or 140 Bitcoin and 83 was this, and then I kept seeing it in like Sovereign Bitcoiner group and a few other of the privacy groups where it was like, this is bullshit, or we think it is, and then I carried on with my life and I didn't look any further.
You are correct that this 83 Bitcoin in fees was allegedly part of a cold wallet hack where apparently a user lost 139 Bitcoin. Again, the user is somewhat unknown. The details are still pretty loose on what happened. We don't know what cold wallet it is or how they generate the seed or where the seed was saved. You know, we've got another story on seed storage coming up as well on the list. But yeah, as you said, Max, allegedly the victim here has made an anonymous Twitter account saying that they are the owner of, or were the owner, should I say, of this Bitcoin. And they've actually signed a Bitcoin message with it to say it was me. Now, that doesn't really prove much other than that they have the private keys. Obviously, we still don't know who this person is. We do have a little shred of kind of social proof, I guess. We have Nifty Nay. Her real name is Lisa someone. She runs Base 58 and is a core Lightning dev, pretty well respected in the industry and has been around for a long time, who says that she knows this person that's behind the anonymous Twitter account and saying that it is legit. So the lucky miner that mined the block containing the 83 Bitcoin in fees was Antpool.
Yep.
And I think literally today, so this is hot off the press, they've actually realized that it's in their funds and they've kind of put it on hold and they're trying to work out what to do with it.
I don't like that.
I believe they have sent out some requirements of what whoever it is, you know, the victim needs to do to get this back. So it seems like they're open to giving it back. But again, it's still an unfolding issue at the moment. So that's all of the details we have at the moment. The crucial bit for me is trying to learn more about what they were doing with their seed, because is it a low entropy seed? Is it another instance of them, you know, rolling dice or not rolling enough dice? Is it them storing their seed on a password manager or something like that? It all remains to be seen. So hopefully next month we'll have a bit more clarity, but absolutely fucking wild to see 83 Bitcoin in fees. The other open question I have is like, if somebody's seed was compromised and there was 140 Bitcoin in there,
why pay that massive fee?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It's the obvious question.
There has... Go on, Antimus.
Yeah, there's been... actually, I'm not 100% sure who that was on Twitter. It could have been Mono now, who done quite a good write-up on this. Someone did the math on this, and it's exactly 60%. So this would be presumably an automated system that as soon as like some brute force tool found some funds, they just automatically do a spend with 60% fees, just so to be sure. And it's like a kind of automated tool doing this. This was kind of the...
No. No.
And you obviously, I mean, I don't know whoever programmed this, if this was the case. No one's really expecting 140 Bitcoin, right, to come along. But the other crazy thing is that there was a replaced by fee, right? So there was an earlier transaction that spent a lot less in fees, but still ungodly amount.
Who's doing 60% fees ever? I don't buy that.
If you write a software that brute forces different wallets, right, and then you just want to be sure that if you kind of get into someone's wallet, you want to get those funds.
No.
It's all a gain anyway, right?
I don't believe that. I just think if you're smart enough to hack and get in and get someone's seed and make this software, you're also smart enough to say, I'm not a programmer, but like, if it's over this or within this range, then you don't go above this. Like, you're not just going to do 60% of any transaction, because that's a massive amount. Like, I can't think of a time where I've sent a transaction and 60% of what I'm sending is the fee. I can't think of a time. It's fucking mental. And so if someone's smart enough to do that, they're smart enough to write whatever software they need to write, to just be like, do a fucking reasonable fee where it's going to go into the next block. Just don't be a stupid cunt. It just doesn't make sense to me that someone would do that.
The crazy thing is here, I just found the tweet. So this is from Mononaut, and it was posted on the 27th of November. And he said, I just noticed that the 83.7 BTC fee was exactly 60% of the stolen UTXO value. And it's like down to the SAT. So 60% of 139.4249596 equals 83 point blah, blah, blah. So it's down to the SAT.
Okay, that would be unlikely for it to be exactly 60% in that case.
And the attacker also swept a 100,000 SAT UTXO, 100,000 SAT, from the same address, paying exactly 60,000 SATs in fees.
It's definitely something automated then.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would have said a minute ago, and I did, bullshit. But now you've said that, I'm like, maybe. But then if you were the hacker, you'd be like, fuck, I wish I'd have spent a bit more time on this script or whatever you'd call it. If I'd have just spent another 5 minutes just to not be dumb, I'd be so wealthy.
Well, on the other hand, he got 55 Bitcoin, right?
He's still very wealthy, extremely wealthy. Yeah. Okay. Well, if it is true and this person really did lose that, I feel sorry for them. That's shit.
100%.
But the miners should never give it back. I think that should be a rule. The miners should never, because I think it sets like a weird precedent and I don't like it. I think it's like you pay the fee and whatever that fee is, it's done and it never comes back. I don't like this whole movement of like, oh, send us in an email and proof and then we might give it back. It just feels to me like that's a bit fiat-y and bullshit and I don't like it.
You'd also be pretty pissed if you were putting your hash at Antpool and they gave it away.
Yeah. It's not right. It reeks of fiat to me. I think it should be massively frowned upon if anyone ever gives sats back.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, if you're the guy or the girl who had that happen to them,
yeah, you'd be pissed.
Yeah, and you'll be trying to get it back, right?
This is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Speaking of hacks, Antimus, should we roll into the Rick on Twitter with his 25 Bitcoin?
That's also brutal. And there's been a whole bunch of brutal stories this last month.
Yeah, it's been bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rick R. Messit, at R. Messit, he posted on the 11th of November that he had 25 Bitcoin stolen. That was apparently his and his dad's stash. Funnily enough, the coins were actually sent to Binance, right? If I have this correct.
Yep.
And so there was like a whole thing of like reposting to kind of get some attention from Binance to have this account blocked or frozen or whatever for further investigation. But yeah, as far as I can see, nothing much has happened there from Binance. I don't know if there's been any more information.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to catch the attacker because they'll be using stolen KYC credentials, but it will at least stop them cashing out on Binance.
What do you mean? That doesn't happen. That's why it's there to protect us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So this guy had 25 Bitcoin that he's been holding since 2012 between him and his father. So been in the space a long time. Put my brutal hat on, been in the space long enough to know better than to keep his seed words on a password manager in plain text. Allegedly, he was using something like KeePass where there is no kind of cloud. It's all kind of local. If what he's saying is true, then it looks like his actual machine has been compromised somehow. And, when he's been accessing his password manager, somehow, whatever it is that has got into his machine,
like a keylogger or something.
Keylogger, or they've been able to record his screen or some shit like that. So yeah, devastating news. And he actually recorded a video where he talked through it all, which is on Twitter as well. And he looked like a broken man. I did really feel for him. But again, putting my brutal hat back on, and he said it himself, like he was telling all of his friends, make sure that you secure your seed words properly, make sure you use a hardware wallet, and he wasn't following his own advice. And unfortunately, this is sometimes the outcome, and it's really, really tough to hear his story. But again, I guess if any good can come of it, it's, people listening to this to make sure that they're not doing silly stuff like storing their life savings on internet connected devices in password managers and not using hardware wallets and stuff like that. Like it's an all too timely reminder.
Yeah. Keeping it on a laptop or general purpose computer seems crazy. I think this guy or his dad was relatively technically savvy. Like he was either a programmer or in IT or something like that. Yeah, I think he said
his dad was a dev, yeah.
Same with like Luke Dash Jr. And like you see this kind of stuff and you're like, do you make this mistake because you are skilled and you think that you're smarter than the people who are attacking you and therefore you're the one who gets attacked? Because a normal, like a dumb fuck like me doesn't do that. Because I'm too dumb to do it, so I'm not going to do it. I just buy dedicated hardware or use an offline device or, don't put all my eggs in one basket and spread the risk because I'm not smart enough to know, and you're in a better situation. It seems it's always those types who, and I don't mean to be rude, I'm sure this guy's really nice and I do feel sorry for him, but like, it's almost like a bit of an arrogance of like, oh, we know what we're doing. Like we can give the advice, but it doesn't really apply to us because we're smart enough.
Yeah, maybe. And it's also like just the time that's passed, there's this saying obviously of like, don't change your running system. And that can work to your disadvantage because if you have like a full sense of security, like it's been going for 5 years or 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever, like, and you think like you don't want to touch it again, you don't want to change it, and it kind of solidifies and people don't update their security model. And I've no idea what kind of methods were used to generate that seed at the time in 2012, how high that entropy was and how secure that even was. So it's a tough thing to see someone lose all of that, but it goes to show that you kind of have to keep improving your setup, or at least do it right the first time around if you have the knowledge to do that.
Yeah, so tiny little bit more information here. I've just been scrolling through the tweets. Seed was stored in an open source self-hosted password manager called KeePass. The password to access his KeePass password manager was stored only in his heads, but was very weak, so probably brute forceable. KeePass app itself was on his daily driver laptop that he presumably used for work and other stuff, and obviously had a shit ton of other applications installed. And it was also backed up to Microsoft OneDrive, so was essentially online pretty much all the time. So pretty much all of the bad things you can do, this guy did it, unfortunately.
Tough.
Yeah, be vigilant.
Okay. Going on to more wonderful news. Swan Bitcoin has stopped serving customers that interact with privacy services. So
hold on, Antimus, will my ref link still work here, or?
Yeah, we can cut this out. Sorry about that.
I just wanted to make sure. If anyone's listening, use ref code rape my privacy
Wow.
or fuck my freedom. Either one will work, and I'll get some sats back.
Is that all caps?
All caps, all the time.
Awesome. Thanks. Noted.
Thanks, Swan, for the sponsorship.
Yeah, so apparently they've stated that it was due to new regulations from their custodians that they use for the Bitcoin. So now you cannot pay directly from something like Postmix Samurai Whirlpool or directly to Samurai Whirlpool. They'll block those transactions incoming and outgoing. They'll then just freeze your account if they see that it goes into something like Whirlpool one hop later. There's obviously been a huge outcry on Twitter, which is absolutely justified. They have been pretty clear that they've highlighted the word directly multiple times. So what they're kind of hinting at is
use Ricochet.
Yeah, Ricochet, or just pass on the UTXO a couple of times from 2-3 hops maybe before you go in or out, to kind of have a bit of plausible deniability, and then it will just probably go through their automatic flagging service. But at the end of the day, it's the outcry was justified, but it was absolutely expected as well. So there's not much of a shock here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Regulated entity doing cooked regulated things. Yeah, the fact that they highlighted, oh, just do one hop and you'll be fine, is neither here nor there. It just completely misses the point. Main headlines here for me is that they are changing the way that they act, or their partners are enforcing them to change the way they act due to some proposal that is just a proposal. There are no laws, etc. So they are preemptively censoring themselves and their users, which is very antithetical to Bitcoin and the way I see Bitcoin personally. If I was a Swan user, I would pull my business away from them. Obviously, I'm not in the US, and even if I was, I wouldn't be using a KYC outfit anyway. But yeah, disappointed to see that they are saying in the background that they're clubbing together and fighting this, which may or may not be true. But like you said before, Max, it's about actions rather than words. And, this is expected, but disappointing nonetheless.
Yeah, I think it's fair to, I've not really done it properly, but I think it's fair to attack Swan a little bit here more than the others, because in a weird way, I respect the hustle of some of the KYC entities that clearly signal they don't give a fuck about Bitcoin. It's very clear. Whereas Swan kind of like has this whole arm that's like, we're plebby, we care, and ooh. They make this big song and dance about freedom money and all this kind of stuff. And then on the other hand, they do this sort of shit. And that annoys me more, pretending to care about privacy when actually all they care about is money, than someone who only cares about money and signals they only care about money. That's fine. This for me is just, it doesn't sit right with me. It annoys me. And I don't think anyone should be associating with this company.
Hear, hear. More exchange news, Antimus, this time in the UK.
This time in the UK, oh boy. What a shit show.
This has been a doomer episode, hasn't it?
Yeah, fuck me.
It's not getting better.
I think it's the whiskey, and I apologise, but it's mainly Antimus's fault because I had a few more drinks before he joined because of his mic issues.
Well, to anybody that hasn't thrown themselves off a very tall building, thanks for sticking with us. Send me a lightning invoice for 5,000 sats and I'll reimburse you a little bit for your time.
As long as you're on mutiny.
Yes, yeah. And don't send me a Zeus pay.
So Gemini UK block Bitcoin transfers to and from non-approved exchanges. So this is kind of a walled garden being set up here of a network of approved exchanges, so that you if you have your funds on Gemini UK, sponsoring some prominent podcasts.
Nice.
You can't transfer out of that ecosystem, so you'll only be able to transfer to I'm just looking for, I think it's Coinbase, crypto.com.
I was really shocked to hear Coinbase on the list.
Mm-hmm. Crypto.com. Was it? No, but there must be more than only those two, right?
I think it's anybody that's signed up to this new trust acronym, Travel Rule Universal Solution Technology. Oof, doesn't that get you fired up?
Changing the world, man.
To enable these changes, which are designed to crack down on fraudulent activity in the industry. So there's 90 entities in there apparently. So,
oh yeah,
the world's your oyster.
Yeah.
Yet another reason to fuck all these clowns off and just start using Bisq or Hodl Hodl or Peach or RoboSats.
Or Mine at Home.
Or Mine at Home. And if you don't know how to do it, listen to Max's mining podcast. And if you want help with no KYC, send me a DM. Just don't get involved with all these clowns.
Yeah. And I mean, this is another reminder, get your coins off exchanges. It's not just because of hacks and rug pulls and so on, but that at some point, all of these exchanges will be closed off and you will not be able to withdraw.
And you're feeding the beast.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, not your keys, not your coins. You will have no idea if they actually hold Bitcoin to cover whatever you have stored with them. And it's going to be from one day to the next. They're not going to give you the time to withdraw. So do it while you still have the chance.
Also do it for any friends and family. I, for the last 2 years, any people who had bought and I'd push them to buy, but I didn't have time to set them up with hardware and didn't have time to fuck around. And I was like, it's too stressful because I felt I'd rather almost them keep it on exchange because then it's not my fault if they take it into self-custody. The last 3-4 months, I've actually been going around, and although I have no time, sitting with them and doing it with them because, you can't feed this beast. You have to get everyone you know to take their sats off exchange and start learning. It is important.
Yep. With every day, we get closer to the inevitable regulatory ultimate rug pull. So take action.
And if you're not going to buy on RoboSats or anywhere else like Peach or whatever, then start selling services, whatever it is. And if you're selling services and you're like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get this out to a market, you can reach out to me. I'll get you into our Meshtadel or Pleb Miner monthly groups or any of the other groups that we run, and I will try and help you as best I can to sell your goods or services for Bitcoin.
And if that doesn't work, just sign up for OnlyFans.
I mean, that's the ideal, isn't it?
Have you seen how much some of these girls are earning?
Oh, fucking hell. I don't know. Is that real?
Yeah, I mean, you see.
I pay them on schedule.
Lightning or on-chain?
They deserve it, mate.
Swipe here.
I don't think they would know what that is. But no, to be fair, if they are earning the figures that you see on there, Jesus Christ. I'd sell pictures of my arsehole as well if anyone wanted them. No one does.
No comment.
I've tested the market. No one's interested.
I mean, at the end of the day, if they're getting it themselves, more power to them. The thing is with all these kind of stuff, it's at the end of the day, you just have the pimps sitting in between, right? You just get most of the cash.
That's what we need to do. We're all working so fucking hard and getting nowhere. I think we need to start pimping.
We can discuss this afterwards.
Yeah, let's not discuss business on air.
Yeah, good idea.
Just one more thing to the topic on Gemini and these walled gardens. The one argument I get from a lot of people when I tell them to get their coins off exchanges. I mean, obviously, I know the listener base here are kind of preaching to the choir, but still, there's always that argument of at some point I want to buy a house, at some point I want to buy a car, I want to be able to make big purchases, and I have to do that on an exchange, it has to be regulated and so on. If you have it in cold storage and in self-custody, you always have, and you in the future as well, will always have the option to pay back into that system if you want to cash out for a purchase like that. If you can trace back even if you've been going through Whirlpool, if you save that transaction history, you can prove that at any time in the future. But you won't be able to do this the other way around, of pulling out of that system at some point in the future. So just keeping your options open there is a massive benefit.
Yeah, it's like a one-way valve. You can opt back in, but you can't opt out. Or it's like the Hotel California.
On that, I have a question. So I've had a few people write to me, and I won't divulge names, but people saying like, look, there's this new no KYC way of putting up sats and getting a loan, and it's in a multi-sig and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, look, it's not really for me. I'm not really interested. But quite often people are writing to me about this. And it did have me wondering, I'm like, for someone who is fully no KYC, they're not touching the on or off ramps. But at some point, like the purists would be like, oh, you never sell your Bitcoin. You want to pass this on to 5 generations onwards and blah, blah, blah. But like some people have lives and families and stuff. And you might think, well, actually, I'd like to buy a home, or, you know, I need a car, or I need something. Is there anything that you can think that technically could work where someone could, without revealing their identity, dip back into fiat land without using gift cards and stuff for bigger stuff, like if you want to buy a home or something? Or is this issue going to be when you're filling out all the forms and buying these properties, they're going to want proof of funds and where it's come from and everything, and there's just not ever going to be this way to bridge that gap, and you have to have the two separate?
I would say certainly where we live, Max, yeah, your assumptions are correct. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably places in the world where you can set up shell companies and, you know, obfuscate things that way. But as soon as you start going into, like you said, fiat land, especially for like things that are so heavily not regulated, but like, I guess, identity based, like how, especially houses, of course, when you generally need mortgages and you might be using some sats as a down payment, like you're almost never going to do that in most of the Western world without giving some proof of funds. But the crucial bit here is exactly what Antimus said, is like, if you've got 100% of your KYC stash up until that point, and then you choose, right, I'm going to peel off 20% of it and use it as a down payment for a house, it's going to be easy for you to prove where that came from. And just because you bought it on BISC doesn't mean that it's illegal. It was just a peer-to-peer transaction. It's not illegal. They're still rightfully yours, and you're just disclosing
I see that as grassing,
information. As what, sorry?
I see that as grassing. Maybe that's just me, but I'm like, okay, say I bought on BISC and then I wanted to buy a house, and then they're like, oh, I want proof of funds. Okay, well, you're liquidating some of your assets, which legally you're allowed to do, and whatever else. They're going to say, okay, well, we want to see this transaction ID, which then shows them the person that you've bought off or sold to. So then you're revealing the identity of somebody else who is transacting in Bitcoin. And to me, I wouldn't ever want to do that, because I'm like, well, hang on, what if I was on the other side of that trade? Do I want my name in a database? And that's a major issue that I've had with something like BISC, and why I would always do cash or sell a good or service if possible, because I wouldn't want to be the other person on the other side of that trade. Because if it's a large amount and you're saying, well, I'm buying a property and here's 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever it is down on this payment, and I've bought it from this person, their real name and banking details are on there, and you've got to assume that that is going to go into a database. And for me, I'm not doing that, because that's somebody else who could be me, and I'm not going to do that.
Well, I mean, there are two things there, right? Isn't it? On the one hand, there's the on-chain footprint. When you give up like an address or a transaction ID, obviously you link that coin's history to someone else who had it before you. But it's their responsibility to take care of their on-chain privacy, right? So if they went through Whirlpool responsibly before trading on BISC, they should be fine, right?
No, because they're giving you their bank details, which is tied to their identity. So you can have the perfect on-chain privacy, and it means nothing if you're trading to their bank. And that's my point, is like, if you're doing it for cash and there's no tie to someone's identity, that's a completely separate thing to actually tying to their bank account. And my issue would be tying somebody else's, a trading partner's identity to a financial transaction that's going to go into a database, it's going to be fed to every government agency, and could potentially fuck them. I wouldn't want to do that.
I see your point, Max. And there's a lot of variables at play here. Like, you could be divulging transactions that have happened 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago, maybe from a bank account that you don't even have anymore. Like, you're not always going to be able to come up with this information. Your trade counterpart, they might not even use that service that you used when you did the trade 6 years ago. But then even if you remove all of that, like, that is just a risk of trading peer-to-peer. Is there's a certain level of information sharing, and you can't guarantee what's going to happen with that information. But it is still distinctly better. I'd rather share my information with one likely privacy conscious individual than some regulated business from some suits in London somewhere that clearly don't give a fuck about me.
No, I agree with you.
There's trade-offs just all the way down. But yeah, completely understand where you're coming from. And it's just, I guess, a risk that you take when you enter into the peer-to-peer market.
I agree with you. What I'm saying is, as someone who cares about privacy and other people who are in this, I don't know what you call it, but whatever, like movement, whatever, I would just feel, well, not even I would feel, I just wouldn't give their details over, because what I'm saying is it never ends. And people have this kind of idea of, oh, well, it might be an old bank account and it was, attached to my identity, but that was years ago and it's probably going to be fine. And I'm telling you, the answer is no, it fucking isn't, because it isn't a few years and it isn't 7 like people think about keeping accounts and records. It's forever, and they can go back forever, and there's no limit. And that's not to scare people. That's just to say, think about the people that you're trading with, think about your trading partners, and try not to involve anybody in any bullshit that touches government or touches banks, because that's not what this is about. And so, if you have gone to KYC exchanges, if you have bought from them in the past, if you are going to sell some sats, sell them first. Don't start getting other people who care about freedom involved in your bullshit that touches the old system, if you can avoid it. That's what I'm saying.
Sound advice.
Yeah. I mean, especially like on these peer-to-peer exchanges, if you're doing bank payments, usually, they won't be massive. Like, you won't have like 100K transactions there, right? Because that won't go through the banking system anyway without raising major flags. So keeping that to pretty low amounts is definitely a good idea. Obviously, that's a whole different story. Like, if you acquired your Bitcoin via no KYC, I can see the hesitation to going into the system at some point later on. But if you bought KYC, right, and that's what we were originally talking about, people getting their coins off exchanges, then taking it off the exchange wouldn't be an issue for putting it back on sometime later, right? Of actually going back into the system to cash out, to buy whatever, a house, or put down payment for something, right?
Makes sense to me. I agree.
So we've got to come full circle. The next company that's dunked on their users, Wallet of Satoshi, stopped serving customers in the United States. So anyone who's using this in the US has probably heard of this. They will not be served any longer. They will be able to withdraw their funds, so they haven't shut down completely. But apparently the regulatory overhead was so large in the US that they had to or decided to shut down their services. Otherwise, they're still open if you are not in the US.
Yeah, it sounds preemptive. They've been loose on details, but the general consensus is that they've had a tap on the shoulder from a regulator, or their lawyer has spoken to a regulator, and they've shit themselves and erred on the side of caution and pulled the app from the App Store to appease the regulator. Like you said, you could still, if it's, it hasn't wiped it from your phone if you are in the US, but the crucial thing to remember here is that if you are a Wallet of Satoshi user in the US, if you lose your phone, you can't reinstall the app, so those sats are gone. Unless you signed up with an email, and unless you can restore it on an Android, presumably. But yeah, just another reminder and another kick up the arse for those of you that do still have some funds on a custodial wallet to look to a open source, which Wallet of Satoshi is not, and non-custodial alternative. So my recommendation would be Phoenix if you don't run a node, and if you do, give Zeus a try. But just don't use custodial shit.
Amen.
Good advice.
All right, that wraps up the list, right?
Yeah, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, we got there in the end. It's approaching 10 o'clock at night. It's been a very, very long day.
Speak for yourself. It's 11 here.
Yeah, but you rolled out of bed at fucking midday and went down the spa and had your mani-pedi and all that. Me and Q&A have been fucking working hard today.
Exactly. But it was your fault that it got so late, so...
This is true. Yeah, actually, no, that's fair. No, it's fair. We had this booked for a morning episode about a week ago, and
that's
completely...
not what I was talking about.
Oh, well, I was going to say personal responsibility here. I fucked up and missed the show. I was very sick, and I just completely fucking missed it, and that is on me, and this is my fault, so I apologise.
I was talking about my mic.
Well, that's your fault.
Just got you to out yourself there, Max.
Yeah, it was fine. I will own up to my own shit, and that was poor from me, and I apologise. But your mic is unacceptable, mate.
I'll have a Yeti next time.
There's levels to this. You need to fucking sort your life out.
Should we do a crowdfund thing on Tallycoin or something like that?
No, fuck that. Antimus can pay for it. He's rolling in it. Well, I appreciate you both. That was a good list. I'm sorry if we brought the mood down. And
yes, it was a Doom end, but there was some good actionable content in there amongst all of the Doom.
Agreed.
Next time, we'll probably be, end of the year, right? We can do a bit of a recap.
Ooh, should we do a long one? Highlights of the year or something?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Christmas carols?
Oof.
I'm out.
The boar's head.
I thought you were going all the way then.
Yeah.
Right, there's definitely nobody else listening now, so.
That's us done now. I'll catch you in a few weeks then.
See ya.
Yeah.
Adios.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening. Please remember to share with friends and family if you enjoyed this episode. And make sure to check out ungovernablemisfits.com. We have some really cool clothing, artwork, articles, podcasts, and much more. Oh, we've just dropped some whiskey as well today, so make sure to check that out. Also, if you want to buy hardware from Foundation Devices, use the code ungovernable. If you want to buy still backup plates from sx6.store, use the code ungovernable. And if you want to buy a Ronin Dojo Tanto, go to ronindojo.com. And I'll leave it with you to guess what that code might be. Stay ungovernable, and we'll catch you on the next one.